after that.
Thank you. Senator Roberts.
In Commissioner O'Malley's statement of dissent regarding the President's fiscal year 2013 budget for the CFTC, he states that the Commission's investment in technology should be its highest priority and that funds for technology should not be redirected for other purposes. My question, Mr. Chairman, have you redirected funds meant to be used for technology? And I stress, was it not a technology update that allowed the self-regulatory administration, the National Futures Association, to ultimately catch Mr. Wasendorf at Peregrine?
From reports, sir, it does appear that they go in every 9 to 15 months under our rules to do audits, and this has moved from a paper process to an electronic process. And you're correct. From the reports, we'll learn more facts. They were moving to an electronic confirmation platform rather than a paper confirmation platform.
But if you redirected funds meant to be used for technology, that's my basic question.
And so to that part of your question, I believe actually we've gone the other way. We're an agency just about 10% in headcount more than we were 20 years ago. We're about 690 people right now. This year we'll spend just approximately $50 million on technology, which is significantly up from last year. And in fact, working with Congress, I think they had laid out that we must spend at least $45 million. And what we've been able to do over the last several months is redirect more into technology. We need to do both. We need people and machines. But in fact, I think it's the reverse.
But have you redirected funds that were designated for technology for other purposes?
Well, our appropriation said that we had to spend at least 45 in this year, and I think we'll be close to 50 million on technology.
I appreciate that. Let me understand see if I understand this correctly. The CFTC needs a larger budget to regulate a $50 swap in Singapore because it has a direct and significant connection to U.S. commerce. This requires the CFTC enforcement action on a foreign bank that you are calling a U.S. person based on substituted compliance in interpretive guidance, a document that has no force of law. Where is all of this found in Dodd-Frank?
Well, in Dodd-Frank, in Section 722D, Congress laid out specifically the jurisdiction of the agency. They did that for the CFTC. There's not a similar provision on the SEC side. We had many commenters say, can you help interpret the words? What does it mean to have a direct and significant effect on commerce and activity in the United States? I'm roughly paraphrasing, but that's what 722D is.
All right, let me see if this.
So that's what we're trying to interpret.
If I might, what if this U.S. person disagrees that it is a U.S. person based on this interpretive guidance that you admit has no force of law? What happens then?
Well, we're trying to. There's the statute is very clear, black letter words, and we're helping give guidance, and we've actually put it out to notice and comment. We're going to take public comment and I think benefit from consultation with the public before we finalize such a guidance.
Well, if we have letters from 5 international regulatory agencies saying thanks but no thanks, we are not a U.S. person, does this still make the U.S. vulnerable to retaliatory regulation or regulatory arbitrage?
Well, if somebody's not a U.S. person under the guidance under the law, then it's not under our jurisdiction. Then we wouldn't have it. But what we do have is J.P. Morgan Chase just lost several billion, $5 billion in London, and that became a U.S. issue. And AIG, if I can say, was very much a U.S. issue, even though they ran their derivatives portfolio out of Mayfair, London, and $180 billion of U.S. taxpayer money went in. That's $600 for each of us.
I understand that problem, and it's a very serious problem, but what happens when the foreign regulations are not similar to U.S. regulations? Which regulation supersedes the others? Who will decide if there's a disagreement?
Well, what we've said is if they're comparable and comprehensive, which are words that have been used for actually more than a decade probably, then we will defer under something called substituted compliance. But if U.S. taxpayers are left exposed because a U.S. bank is operating in London and we're exposed, Dodd-Frank would still be applicable in that situation.
About a year ago, I asked you if, as some